This time, we're diving into something, well, kinda a dilemma. Lots of our listeners have probably faced this at some point. That moment you're hitting it off with someone new, things are getting exciting, but your dog, not exactly thrilled about sharing you.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, isn't it? That balance we crave as humans, wanting connection. But also, we're fiercely loyal to those who feel like family, and often that includes our pets.
Totally. And the stuff you sent over, it's like a ping pong match of should I, shouldn't I? Really strong points on both sides, giving the dog up or standing firm.
And what gets me is both sides are coming from love. It's not about not caring, it's how you show that care when you got to make a tough call.
For sure. So one side says letting go your dog doesn't mean you love them less. It's more like you're putting your energy towards this new love,
Yeah.
making room for something new.
Right, that whole making room thing. Tough for people who are independent, set in their ways, and their dog, IS, part of that life. It's like
Right.
giving up the dog is a piece of themselves they don't want to lose.
Especially when some people say it's like the dog or true love. Like you can't have both. Plus, we got to be real. Some sources get into the nitty-gritty practical stuff too.
Exactly. It's all those what ifs, like serious allergies, genuine terror. That stuff festers. Could turn into resentment, and then where's the relationship?
Lots to think about. But then there's the other side. Giving up the dog sets a bad example. Like from day one, your needs are second fiddle.
Boundaries. That's what it boils down to. When someone feels pressured to change who they are, what they love in this case, the dog, just to make a relationship work, not good.
One source even said it's like being told to ditch your friends for your partner. Extreme, yeah, but it makes you think. Do I lose myself in this whole relationship thing?
And that's a valid fear, honestly. We want someone who ADDS to our life, not makes us erase parts. So listener, think about it. What are your deal breakers? What says, this is me, E, and what are you cool with bending on?
Which is wild, because some people were saying having a dog can actually make a relationship stronger.
Yeah.
Like it forces you to talk, to understand each other.
Right. You got to work together. The routine's messed up. Maybe you see your partner's fear, which is a whole other thing to deal with. All that can either tear you apart or, if you're open to it, build some serious trust.
So it's not dog or partner, but is there a way we both win? Maybe it's less about choosing, more about using this to grow, on your own NDE as a couple.
Totally. Instead of how do we get rid of this problem, it's what can we learn here? Because at the heart of it, this isn't some dog debate. It's about figuring out your needs, your partner's anxieties, and what you'll both do to build a good life together.
And the sources were saying a lot of times those anxieties, it's not even about the dog, really. It's something deeper, unresolved.
It's that peeling back the layers thing. What we see on top, it's just a symptom. That's where those real, honest talks come in.
It's easy to get swept up in those initial feelings.
Yeah.
The excitement of a new relationship, wanting to protect your pet. But like the sources said, it's often the stuff we don't see at first that holds the answers.
Exactly. One source, they really got into the psychology of why giving up a pet hits so hard. It's like our pets become part of who we are. Not just animals, but family, sounding boards. They reflect what we believe in. Asking someone to give that up, it feels like you're rejecting a part of their very being.
Makes you think about those first big talks with a new partner, huh? How do you even begin to untangle all that love and loyalty, especially when you're still figuring out the relationship itself?
Vulnerability. Being real with each other. One source suggested don't make it an ultimatum, but a we're in this together kind of talk. Hey, I'm struggling with this, need your help to figure it out. Chances are your new partner's got their own stuff going on, anxieties, especially if you're not a dog person.
So true. We forget it's not just dog versus no dog people, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole other human there with their own past, their own way of feeling things.
Exactly. And the sources, they brought up how fear, especially about animals, often comes from not knowing any better, or even bad experiences from way back. Maybe your partner had something scary happen as a kid, or they believe those stereotypes about certain breeds.
Like they say, we judge others by what they do, but ourselves by what we meant. We assume we're good, but the other person, the worst, especially when emotions are high.
And communication, that's the bridge, you see. Making a space where you both feel safe to say what you need, what you're afraid of, no judgment. A few sources even said sometimes you gotta call in backup.
Like a therapist.
Yeah.
Or a dog trainer. Someone neutral who can help you both actually deal with the fear, not just pretend it's not there. Forcing your partner to love your dog, or the other way around. Recipe for disaster.
Totally. And even if it's not some deep-rooted trauma thing, there's plain old compatibility. Dogs are like us. They got personalities. What's cute to one person, like crazy energy, barking their head off, needing attention 24/7 to someone else, that's just stressful.
So then it's like, okay, what about our lifestyles? Can you change your routine for your partner's needs? What can you both give a little on so the dog and your partner feel good in their own home?
And that's something all couples deal with, not just pet owners, right? But this whole thing, it's almost like a mini version of the relationship itself, you know?
What do you mean?
Think about it. This forces you to deal with big questions early on. Boundaries, compromise, how do you fight fair? Can you communicate? Can you get where your partner's coming from, even if you don't agree? Are you both willing to put in the work to make it good for both of you?
Relationship 101 fast-tracked.
Yeah.
And depending on how that goes, it either sets you up for something strong or it shows you the cracks that maybe you missed before.
Yep. And the sources were real about the downsides of making the wrong choice. For you or the dog. Like, say you pick the relationship, give up the dog. Is there always going to be that what if?
Or the guilt, the resentment, especially if things don't work out. Can you really build a future on giving something up, even if it's for love?
And on the flip side, if you keep the dog, will there always be that little voice wondering if you missed out on something amazing because of it?
It's like no matter what, you're wondering, what if I did this or that? Like you said, there's that feeling of loss either way, losing the relationship, losing your pet, or even losing who you might have been if you'd chosen differently.
And that's where knowing yourself really matters. The sources, they kept saying, this isn't just about Fido or your new flame. It's about what you value. What are you okay with giving up? And what's so you that you can't live without it?
It's true. It's easy to get so caught up in the moment, the feelings, the logistics. We forget to zoom out, you know? What does this choice say about the kind of life I want? Not just for me, but for everyone and every animal I care about.
Exactly. And a few sources, they had some really practical tips. One that stuck with me, be honest, not just with your partner, but with yourself. If it meant saving the relationship, could you really rehome your dog? And if so, are you going to do it right? Finding them a good, loving home.
Because it's not just like first come, first served, right? You got to find the right match. A family that'll love them the same way, get their little quirks.
Absolutely. And that takes time, doing your homework, and being straight up about why you're doing it. The sources all said, being honest is huge E here, both for the people adopting Eddie so you can feel okay about it later.
But what if that's a no-go? Rehoming's off the table, you're keeping the dog. Even then, the sources said, it's not easy. Especially dealing with your partner's fear.
And that's where talking it out comes in, right? Like we were saying before, you got to work together to make it comfortable for everyone. That might mean boundaries, literally like spaces in the house, and also how you act around each other.
Like the dog's not allowed in certain reams,
Yeah.
or introducing them slowly in a way that's good for both of them. Maybe even dog training classes together.
There you go. Being creative, putting in the work, and knowing change takes time. Your partner is not going to magically stop being scared overnight, so you need patience. And you got to understand where they're at.
So no matter what you do, everyone's got to learn and adjust a little. Yeah. Learning to deal with all those feelings, setting those boundaries, and being honest every step of the way.
And maybe that's what we learn most from all this. Relationships, whether it's your person or your furry best friend, they change. You got to be who you really are, be okay with things getting a little messy, and never stop learning together.
Sounds about right. It's beautiful, but kind of scary too. But like we've been saying, it's a chance to learn about yourself, connect more deeply, and there's a ton of love along the way.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Thanks for diving in with us today.
And to you listening, hope this got you thinking, especially as you figure out your own relationships. Till next time, remember, even when things get tough, that's often where we grow the most.